Yes, guys, welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal podcast. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. Back again. This is the first live show ever since the season ended yesterday, and we're going to talk about Arsenal's first signings, Arsenal's transfer priorities. Who are they, and what do we need to do in this summer? I've decided to do this video. Basically, it's not transfer rumors, and I'm not really going to talk about transfer rumors. What I'm going to do is try to assess Arsenal's season and what we need to do in this. So who should be our first priorities? What should we sign, and when should we sign the first summer signings? Last season, we had a big problem. We signed the likes of Thomas Partey on deadline day, and the player really struggled to fit in. So I think this season it should be a little bit different. We should sign in players early enough, in my opinion. That would make a lot of sense. But I also think we need to be very, very careful in who comes in at the club and who leaves. Because first and foremost, one of the problems we've had, and I'll talk about this in a minute, one of the problems we have had as a club is our transfer policies have been misguided a lot, really misguided. We've had we are the club that has been signing in players for a lot of money, players that are not good enough. So it's got to change. Who should be our first transfer summer priorities? Who should Arsenal sign in first? We are gonna decide on that. I think there should be 3 or 4 players, and in my opinion, in the first 30 days of the summer, Arsenal should complete at least 4 or 3 signings. That is in my opinion, because that is how bad our season has been. My name is Cossy. We are going to discuss that and more. Make sure you do 4 things today. First and foremost, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, because on a daily basis we shall have more than 4 transfer shows. You don't want to miss. You don't want to miss more than 4 transfer videos on a daily basis. You don't want to miss that. And do me a favor, go in the comment box and tell me who are your 3 transfer targets that Arsenal should sign first. Who are your 3 transfer targets that Arsenal should sign first? You know, it could be one of the names that are really popular among the likes of Emi Buendia, the likes of Aaron's, the likes of whoever it is. It could be one of the names that we have not heard about. Who are the first 3 signings Arsenal should deal with in this summer? And that is where this video is actually gonna rotate. Of course, the other thing is subscribe to my second channel. Link is in the description below. If you want to do business with me, of course, make sure you hit on me on my WhatsApp. Numbers in the description. If you want to tell me anything in regards to transfers, in regards to the season, my number is in the description as well. If you want to send me an email, my number is in the description as well. So we're gonna discuss Arsenal's transfer summer. We're gonna it's like a torch. We are gonna get a torch and light through our transfer summer. Look at what Arsenal needs to do as compared, in contrast to what we've been doing, to the nonsense we've been doing in the recent years. So let's get into it, people. Yesterday, our season ended 2-0. I mean, that was a very good victory, and I was really surprised because we ended with a couple of positives and a couple of good statistics. First and foremost, we are the only club last season to win 5 out of the last 5 games. It was only Arsenal. We had 3 players to score more than 10 games in one Premier League season. I think ever since 2000, was it the likes of the last bunch that had done that had been Alexis Sanchez, Olivier Giroud, and I think Aaron Ramsey. I think that was the last bunch that had done that. So, you know, we ended the season on a very good note, I should say. But overall, however much we ended the season well, our season was irredeemable. That's the word. We couldn't get back our season. We couldn't get anything positive, more positive than what we got, because the season had already been dreadful. That's it. So For me, many people have asked me questions like, Cossy, what should we do? What needs to be done at Arsenal? What is the way forward? There is only one way forward for me at Arsenal, is go down in the summer and sign and make sensible transfers. That is my only way forward. Go down in the summer and make sensible transfers. There is nothing, there is no way we can correct. And I love Mikel Arteta when he was asked about how to correct the situation at Arsenal. He said there is no other way, and really, truly, there is no other way, to correct this situation. It is either we sign in quality players, or we are doomed. So Mikel also believes, the only way to correct his team is by getting in an unprecedented summer. They have promised us to back the manager, the Cronkies. They have promised us that it's going to be a very unprecedented summer. It is time. The beauty with time is that time flies. However much you're gonna speak A, B, C, D, time flies, and that's it. So finally, it's time for the Cronkies. It's time for Mikel Arteta to put what he's been preaching, what he's been saying, onto paper. Where are the transfers? That is the question now, because the season is over. We have 3 good months, June, July, and August. 3 good months to deal with transfers. 3 good months to repair the Arsenal. This time, like DT said yesterday, this time it's not all about Arsenal patching up. It's not all about putting a little plaster on the wounds. The wounds are deep, the wounds are old. And what we have to do is redress the wounds first and foremost, and then treat them to heal. That's it. So the likes of Granit Xhaka, the likes of Willian, the likes of the likes of Rob Holding, all those players are just plasters. We've got to uncover the wound, treat it, clean it, and then try at least to give it time to heal. And I think it's a very good thing, as a national fan, in my own perspective, it's a very good thing that we are out of the Super League. I mean, not the Super League, but the Conference League. I'm very, very happy, because for me, the reason as to why Arsenal shouldn't be competing anywhere in Europe, we need time to reflect on ourselves. We need, at least the manager needs time to pick a consistent 11. You need time to reflect on yourself. Maybe it has come as a bad thing that we're not in Europe, but maybe it's something we need. A lot of football has been, we've been playing a lot of football. We've not had time to reflect on that, on ourselves as a team. You're playing in the midweek. You're playing on Sunday. You're playing on Thursday. You're playing on Sunday. We have not got time to reflect on ourselves. We've not got time to reflect on on the squad as well. But now we shall have the time. Obviously, we shall have the time. But anyway, let us kick into the transfers. Let us jump into the transfers and try to see who should be our first summer signings. And this is where it's gonna get very interesting, because I'm also going to talk about players that must be leaving the club in the first month. In the first 30 days, there are players that need to leave this football club, honestly. And let us start from there. First and foremost, I think Runarsson as a goalkeeper, I think it's better we have 2 goalkeepers that are decent enough. Sign Matt Ryan on a permanent deal, probably from Brighton. If Brighton want to sell, if they do not want, go out there, either get in a very good goalkeeper. You could get in Onana, you could get in any other goalkeeper, but Alexander Runarsson is the first goalkeeper. I don't know how we made this transfer, but it only reflects on how our transfer policy has been so poor. It only shows you how poor Arsenal's transfer policies have been. Runarsson, a goalkeeper with no experience, he was not a first choice goalkeeper at his team in France. He wasn't a first choice goalkeeper. And then you ask yourself, how do you bring someone who is a second choice goalkeeper at a low profile club in France, and then you bring him in to be a deputy to Ban Leno? That was a very big mistake. So I think we need to let go of Runarsson. He doesn't have a future. He's not promising as a goalkeeper. That's the first thing. Right back position, we need to let Hector Bellerin go. And the first thing we have to think about is Arsenal will need to sell to buy buy more players. That's the first thing. Before we talk about our first, summer signings, we need to talk about the fact that how do we raise the revenue? The first thing, we need to sell players. The likes of Hector Bellerin need to leave the club. So many players need to leave this football club. Honestly, so many players need to leave. So Hector Bellerin, in the first 40 days, Bellerin needs to leave. Bellerin has been finished for 2 consecutive seasons. Honestly, speaking from an Arsenal perspective, speaking from a very objective perspective, Bellerin has been finished for 2 consecutive seasons. A player that has nothing more to offer. Honestly, let's talk about it. This season, he's been one of our worst players. So, whether PSG want him, whether Barcelona want him, I don't know where he's gonna go. I don't know who we are going to sell Bellerin to. But that's the first thing we have to talk about. And I'm a little bit happy that we could raise around 20 to 25 million pounds. That's decent. I mean, that's a little bit decent. So you get 25 million pounds from Hector Bellerin, or 20, depending on who wants to buy him. If it's PSG, they could give you some 30 million pounds. I mean, they spend. They were born to spend. They always spend the money. But apart from that, I think Bellerin is done at Arsenal. We've got to let him go. That is the first player that needs to leave the club. I'm thinking about Cedric, and I need to know who of you think Cedric needs to leave. But I'm thinking about Cedric and Chambers. I would keep Chambers because there is no reason as well we need to have 3 right backs at the team. 3. I mean, it doesn't make sense. They're getting huge wages. They're not doing anything. So it is either Chambers and Bellerin to leave, or Cedric and Bellerin. In my case, in my opinion, I would keep Chambers. I think he's been a little bit decent towards the end of the season. So keep Chambers and then let Hector Bellerin and Cedric go. So of course, then I will talk about who comes in terms of the right back position. I think it's one of our most urgent priority areas. Okay, in the left back position, I think Sid Kolasinac. That one is a no-brainer. It's absolutely a no-brainer. This guy needs to leave as well. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how we did transfers like this. I mean, it's unexplainable. A free transfer from Schalke 04, and we got ourselves one of the worst players in history of football. Sid Kolasinac. I've never seen, I've seen the likes of, Giroud. I've seen the likes of Sebastian Skulachi. I've never seen a player as bad, as poor as Sid Kolasinac. I've never seen. I don't think I will ever see. We've seen the likes of Kim Kalostrom. We've done some disgusting, ridiculous transfers. But that of Sid Kolasinac, well, I really can't believe we did it. So another player that needs to leave, honestly, is Sid Kolasinac. If there is no club interested, cancel his contract. That is how urgent we have to clean out the wound. Cancel his contract. Cancel Sid Kolasnac's contract. Nobody's ever gonna ask, why did Arsenal let Sid Kolasinac go on a free? Nobody. Just like we did with the likes of Skodran Mustafi and the likes of Socrates Papastopoulos, we need to do more. So Sid Kolasinac, another player that needs to go. We could raise around 5 million or 10 or 8 from his transfer. That could also make some sense. But in terms of urgency, Kolasinac and Hector Bellerin, those ones need to go first thing tomorrow morning. Okay. Of course, in terms of in terms of that centre back, you have David Louis leaving. It's a little bit. I have mixed reactions. I have mixed feelings with David Louis. Whenever I remember what he did to us the previous season, before last season, I don't miss him. But what he has been providing to the club this season, I might miss him a little. Honestly, I might miss him a little. So David Louis is another player that's gonna leave. That has already been confirmed. So those 3, Luis, Sid Kolasinac and Hector Bellerin, those must be one of our. Those should be the first players to leave the club in the first 30 days of before July. Okay. In the midfield, Elneny. Muhammad Elneny needs to go, people. We've got to be ruthless. We've got to, we've got to understand. You know what? I would say Granit Xhaka, hold on to Granit Xhaka until you find a better player. But Muhammad Elneny needs to go. Honestly, there is nothing more he is offering at this football club. Nothing. If you're waiting, if we want someone to sit on the bench, we'd rather bring in a player, a central midfielder, and let Granit Xhaka sit on the bench. It wouldn't do him any bad, because first and foremost, he's old. That's the first thing. He's played a couple of years at Arsenal. He won't be very, very disgusted by sitting on the bench. But Elneny doesn't have anything more to offer. Forget about the crackers he's been scoring, 3 or 4 this season. That is not all for a midfielder. There is much more we need in terms of midfield. I think Elneny needs to go as well. Dani Ceballos, that has been confirmed. He's going to leave the club. You will not be missed. That's the word. He will never, no one will miss him at this pub club. No one is going to miss Dani Ceballos. I think those are the players we need to ship out in terms of the midfield. Honestly, we don't have many of them. We have we have very few midfielders at this football club, so we can't really ship out many of them. Okay, in terms of the attack, that one is a little bit jumbled up. Maybe Willian. If we get a chance to ship out Willian, you could let him go. If we have a chance to ship out Alexander Lacazette or Edin Ketia, we could let them go. But it seems like it's not going to be very, very easy to ship out those players in those positions. So looking at what we need to do in terms of outgoings gives us a perspective on who needs to come in. And that is where the video starts. Who are our priorities? Who should be the first signings we need to make? First and foremost, I think the most expensive and the most priority area to deal with is the right back position. This season, we've been a one-leg team. Tierney has had the best of his seasons. He's created chances, he's scored goals, he's done everything a fullback must do at this football club. Defensive-wise, he's been solid. I think there is no one who can actually say, who can come out and take a dig at Tierney. He's been brilliant this season, but on the right wing of the defense, that is the problem. Hector Bellerin, Callum Chambers, Cedric, we have interchanged them so many times, but we have not got one person who fits in at that position. So I think one of the first priorities, one of the first players we need to sign is Max Aarons. That is among all the names, because forget Hakimi, forget Rick Lamptey, those are a little bit problematic. Max Aarons should be our first signing. That is according to me. And you can let me know who should be our first signing of the summer. There is nothing that will make me happier in this summer than Arsenal signing a right back. Nothing will make me happier. We have struggled so much. We have suffered so much in terms of right back. And if I look at Max Aarons, he is a player that absolutely he has everything Arsenal need in terms of urgency, in terms of going forward, in terms of defending the ball. He's got everything. So for me, he's my first player. My first summer signing should be Max Aarons. Bellerin leaves, replace him with Max Aarons. Actually, Bellerin and another right back, Bellerin and Cedric. Both of them are awful. Cedric is poor at going forward. Bellerin is poor at defending the ball. We need someone who is all round, and I think Aarons will fit in very, very well. Around £30 million. That is what Norwich will be asking for. I know it will be around £25 million if Arsenal is serious. We could get him at least £25 million or £20 million. We just need to do the negotiations right. So for me, the first summer position to fill in this summer is right back. Arsenal have got to look at that. We can't keep on having poor right backs. I think ever since Bakali Sanya, who was not good as well, but ever since we lost Bakali Sanya, we've not had a decent right back. The likes of Debuchy, that's no sense. The likes of Hector Bellerin, we have not had a decent right back. It's time to take a change. It's time to make a change. And the first player, the first position Arsenal need to fill in this summer is our right back. If you agree with me, smash a like on the video. Please do smash a like on the video if you agree with me. The next player that I think Arsenal need to look at and the next position is the central midfield role. We've had a couple of good central midfielders, from Jack Wilshere to Aaron Ramsey to Santi Cazorla, to the likes of Alexander Sombilong. We have had very good central midfielders, but this season, what a disappointment. What a disappointment. We have had Granit Xhaka, who I think has been an average player for 5 consecutive seasons. 5 consecutive seasons. Undroppable but average. We have had Dani Ceballos, the worst player at the side this season. We need to take an upgrade. We need to make an upgrade. Forget the likes of a backup left back. This is another priority area. Xhaka has been good, consistent, but not good enough. And for me, it doesn't matter if a player is good but not good enough. Then we need to go for an upgrade. And I think Arsenal, this is a time when we need to focus. We need to focus on that area. Arsenal is a team that plays from the midfield, and you see we've really struggled. Players that like Xhaka that cannot pass the ball 1 or 2, 3 yards. Players like Dani Ceballos that cannot pass the ball, basic passing. You've seen the number of times Thomas Partey has been frustrated. You can't keep the hold of the ball if you cannot pass it right. Honestly, you can't. It's been one of our biggest problems this season. Passing the ball, passing that ball, trying to keep possession. We've been absolutely awful. So I think that is another priority area. Signing number 2 of the summer, Houssem Aouar. Now, this is a very big one, and we shall discuss this at 7. Who needs to be our central midfielder? We have a lot of options in Bissouma. We have a lot of Bissouma, Houssem Aouar, Eduardo Camavinga. We have so many options, and many people are gonna tell me, you know what, Cossy, we should do a Camavinga deal. We should do the Bissouma deal. But for me, the perfect player in that area is Houssem Aouar, available for just £30 million. That's a deal we've got to do. Honestly, Arsenal, if we are serious, that's a deal we've got to do. Because for me, why I do not prefer Bissouma is very good at tackling. He has had 105 tackles this season, more than any other player in the Premier League. That is something that those are statistics that attract you to buy a player. The best tackler in the Premier League. And I know our tackling has been a problem this season, especially with the likes of Granit Xhaka and Dani Ceballos playing with Thomas Partey. Partey would need someone who tackles a little bit better, but I think that is not what we want. That is not what Mikel Arteta is setting out to play. Arteta wants to play football that is very possessive. When you play the likes of Bissouma and Thomas Partey, you lack something, the ability to go forward. It's been our problem. That's why I do not want rigid players like Bissouma. I want someone who's a little bit more progressive in the way they play their football. So Houssem Aouar, for me, is another player, is another transfer we should try to do in the first 30 days. A central midfielder. If we fail to get Houssem Aouar, then the next option immediately should be Camavinga. Then the third option should be Bissouma. So for me, it is Houssem Aouar. After signing a right back, we go for a central midfielder, and in that regard, I think it's Houssem Aouar or Camavinga or Bissouma. But Houssem Aouar gives, think about it. If we sign Bissouma, he gives us more and more and more depth. He gives us, a lot of, concrete in that midfield. But if you sign Houssem Aouar, you are going to play entertaining football. You're gonna play progressive football. So it depends if who you want. But according to Mikel Arteta's philosophy, if you don't want to, if you do not want to get frustrated next season, we better bring in Houssem Aouar. And I think it's a deal that we can do. At the moment, Lyon want to sell, the player wants to move. £30 million is a doable. Is doable. You're never gonna pay it at once. It's gonna be in installments. That's a deal we can do. That's a really, it's a deal we can do. And I hope Arsenal will try to do that. Still, in the first 30 days of the transfer summer, we need to do an attacking midfield signing. That one is a little bit tricky, very, very tricky, because if you look at the options there, Emi Buendia and Martin Odegaard, those are the two players that have been linked with Arsenal. Of course, I don't want to include the likes of Jack Grealish, because Grealish is unrealistic. And I can see how many players want him. I can see how many Arsenal fans do like Jack Grealish, but it's his transfer is unrealistic. If we decide to go for the realistic transfers, it's not Grealish. It's either Martin Odegaard, it's either Martin Odegaard or Emiliano Buendia. And another question on the live show. First, smash the like button, people. Okay, and then tell me, among all those, among all the number 10s, if we zero down to Odegaard and Buendia, who would you go for? Let me tell you this. I think Buendia has something special that Odegaard doesn't have. His goal scoring ability. Odegaard has something special that any Buendia doesn't have. His ability to control the ball, his ability to control the games. When you have a player like Martin Odegaard, I've said this before because we've done this show, a show about the two before, and I said the beauty with Odegaard is he gets that ball and you can keep it for 5 minutes as a team. You can keep, you can keep ownership of the game. You can keep the momentum of the game when you have a player like Martin Odegaard. He's more involved in in everything that happens on the pitch. Buendia is less involved. When you don't have the ball, Odegaard is your man. When you don't have the ball, Buendia is not your man. But both of them have things that I really want to see at Arsenal. I just wish there was a player who had both qualities, like a Felipe Coutinho. Because for Coutinho, he controls the game for you. He dictates dictates the rate, the speed, and the tempo of the game. But let us not go into players that will never sign. Let us try to zero down to two players in Martin Odegaard, because I think when you sign a right back, which has been a problem, and you talk about a central midfielder where we have had a consistent Granit Xhaka but not good enough, we need to talk about our area where it has been deadly. We've been dreadful in terms of creating chances. We've been absolutely dreadful. And we've got to think about it, people. We've got to speak about it. Arsenal this season, in terms of creating chances, we've been the worst team. So Odegaard came in January. I think there's been a difference ever since he came in at the club. Emi Buendia has been demolishing people in the championship. He's been destroying teams. He's been destroying defenses in the championship. So if you ask me, in my opinion, who do we go for? My answer is simple. I'm confused. Really confused. But what I'm going to do is try to analyze the two players so that you people can choose. Odegaard, game controller. You love that. Creates a lot of chances per 90. You love that. He's a young player, 23 years of age. You love that. He's already fitting at Arsenal, and he has created that chemistry with him and other players at the club. Those are the advantages he has. He's already settled at Arsenal. He just needs that run of games to pick up, to pick up himself. Just like you see Nicola Pepe. He just needed that run of games to pick himself up. And probably next season, he could be, if he can get for me 15 goals, next season, I'm gonna say Pepe is one of our best players. Honestly, we should think about that. We should think about it. So Odegaard already settled in at Arsenal. Do you bring him in? Do you sign him on a permanent, or do you bring in an Emi Buendia? Because for Buendia, he has what Odegaard doesn't have, but he has a quality that no Arsenal midfielder has. He scores goals, and we love that about him. We love players like Cesc Fabregas. We love players like Aaron Ramsey for their ability to score goals. Ever since Ramsey left the club, we do not have we do not have a midfielder that guarantees you goals in a game. It's Emi Buendia. Buendia scores goals, and the rate at which he creates goal scoring opportunities is astronomical as compared to the likes of Martin Odegaard. Very, very astronomical. And the last time he played in the championship, he created more than 100 goal scoring opportunities with 16 assists. The last time he played in the Premier League, he had 70 goal scoring opportunities created. Behind, I think he was behind Trent Alexander-Arnold and Kevin De Bruyne. Only the two created more chances last season but one. So it's a little bit more of a dilemma. But what we have to understand is, alongside Emile Smith-Rowe, we need another player who creates chances, whether it's Buendia or Martin Odegaard. Talks have started to see that Odegaard stays at the club. It looks like it's going to be our priority. It looks like our first priority has always been keeping Martin Odegaard. But if we fail to get Odegaard, if we fail to keep Martin Odegaard, my priority is Emi Buendia. So for me, people, those are the three transfer priorities. Those must be our first three signings. Max Aarons, Houssem Aouar, and Martin Odegaard. Those are the three. But in case of a change, in case we don't get Odegaard, then Buendia is okay. In case we don't get Max Aarons, you could go for Tariq Lamptey. He's okay. In case we don't get Houssem Aouar, then you could be looking at Kamavinga or Bissouma. But those are the three positions we need to fill. But let's ask ourselves, if we brought in those three players, where does it put us next season? Top 4? No. Top 5? No. I think if you compare Arsenal and all the clubs that have finished above us, we need more than 5 or 6 signings to compete. Honestly. Because if you look at Chelsea, where we have Xhaka, they have N'Golo Kante. 10 times better. Where we have Emile Smith-Rowe, they have Mason Mount. I think Mount is a little bit better. I think we are only better than Chelsea in terms of the striking force, because their strikers are really dreadful. Liverpool, they have finished that, and of course a disappointing season for them. But they're not again. They're so much ahead of Arsenal. So now, if we can get in 3 good signings in the first 30 days, then we can think about a backup left back. We can do a Ryan Bertrand around there. We can do a centre back, with William Saliba coming back. You could bring in someone who's a little bit experienced in that area. You could do a striker, a young striker. Probably you could bring in an Hudson-Odoi. So we need to be active in this summer. All in all, that is the bottom line. We've got to be active in this summer. We can't afford to waste any time in this summer. The 3 priorities or 4 priorities need to be done early enough so that they settle in. But we need to keep the summer moving. We need to do a lot in this summer in terms of getting our players, and in terms of getting them in. We need to do a lot, and we need to act very, very quickly, because one of the things that we have to think about this summer are 2. Actually, not 1 but 2. 1, we do not have a lot of money to spend, so that means we're going to take a lot of time negotiating deals. The Bissouma deal, we don't have the 40 million. Honestly, if you're going to be honest, we don't have the 40 million. So it's going to take a lot of time, Arsenal negotiating deals, Arsenal doing this A, B, C, D, blah, blah, blah. The negotiations are going to take a lot of time. When you do not have money, you need to have the negotiating power, something that Arsenal do not have. So we don't have the money. Our deals are going to take a lot of time. We need to start early. We need to start now. You'll see I report about a player for almost 3 weeks before we sign him, or 4 weeks before we sign him, because we don't have Champions League football. We have nothing. We are not attractive at the moment. So we do not have the money, and we are not attractive. We are not playing anywhere in Europe. So players are going to try to avoid Arsenal as much as possible. Honestly, we are going to lose so many transfer competitions to the likes of City, the likes of Manchester United, even if it's Lille now. It's hard for Arsenal to buy a player from Lille Metro, because Lille are champions and they have finished in the Champions League. A player could want to stay there for another season. Honestly, at least for another season. Somari has made a transfer from Lille to Leicester City, but still gonna play in the Europa League at least. So if you think about it, we need to do early transfers. Not only for the reason that, not only for reasons that our negotiation power has been cut this season, but also for issues of building the squad. We need to do. There's a lot that needs to be done. Getting out players at the time. We need to get out so many players. We need to bring in so many players. So if you start in July, when the transfer window ends in August, it's gonna be really unserious, unrealistically unserious. So we've got to start now. We now know we need to redeem ourselves. This is the time. Josh Kroenke, Stan Kroenke, Mikel Arteta, they have always said it's gonna be a big summer. Arsenal fans, keep waiting. We are waiting. We are patiently waiting. The moment they start, their nonsense, then Arsenal is done for. Let's see what you people are saying in the chat. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you smash the like button. It really means a lot. Cossy, Arsenal is just Arsenal. You follow transfers closely. At the end they will disappoint you. And as fans, we feel like you are a liar when you are not. Kroenke should not forced to be here by pretending. Yeah, Arsenal is Arsenal. You know what? Arsenal is always Arsenal, but there's nothing. And one of the good things about Arsenal fans is we always believe. We are believers. We are not even fans. I think Arsenal has become a religion. We are believers, really, really good believers, by the way. Believers that never question their faith. That's what we are. Believers that never question their faith. That is Arsenal fan. Those are Arsenal fans. Gogo says, good morning. How are you doing, Gogo? Good morning. Today, Beb says, what's this? That's a very hard name. Gogo says, truth be told, Kroenke is guilty, but not transfer, but in the recruitment of personnel managing the club. We are buying players, but not good enough managers. By managers, I mean the people at the top. You know what? If you think about the structure of this football club, you will run crazy. You will really. The club is run so poorly. That's the truth. Very, very poorly. You need to change the way the club runs, but I don't think we have a lot of time, unless the Kroenke is changed. Unless the Kroenke is changed, the top management is not going to change very, very easily. Alan says, according to me, we need to sell Auba and Xhaka and buy Bamford. And come on, you can't sell Aubameyang and buy Patrick Bamford. Come on, it's unrealistic. It's unrealistic. You can't buy Aubameyang. You can't sell Aubameyang and buy Patrick Bamford. It's unrealistic, people. It's really unrealistic, Alan. Unrealistic. Gogo says, for me, now we are deciding to keep Arteta, and that's fine. We should start by getting the following players moved on. Mohamed Elneny, I agree. Bellerin, I agree. Kolasinac, I agree. Willock, I agree. Niles, Ceballos, Willian, Holding, and Edin Ketia. Yeah, it's a brilliant comment. Gogo says we also need to move on Lacazette, Cedric, Guendouzi, Torreira, etc. I mean, we need a complete squad overall. We need a reshuffle, but it's never gonna come easy, is it? It's never gonna come that easy. And then Gogo says we can't buy without selling. That's true. That's absolutely true. Ahmed says Turkish has outlined that the first 5 matches next season will be striking to these owners who have no eye to see the club's problems. We want to see the color of their money. Okay, thank you so much, George. Amos says Arsenal missing something. Gogo says then bring in Ryan, Aarons, Buendia, Kamavinga, Odegaard, or on another loan, Patson Daka. This is really, that would be a hell of a summer, wouldn't it? Gogo says promote Aziz, Balagan. You know what? I think, we might see a couple of players promoted. A couple of players promoted in this in the next season. Liverpool Hub says we need to sell Runason, Kolasinac, Holding, Bellerin, Ceballos, Willian, Cedric, Chambers, and Xhaka sub if Tierney is injured, and says I bet Rob Holding needs to leave, but I don't think he is. I don't think Rob Holding is gonna leave the club. No, I don't think Rob Holding is gonna leave. That is something that at least I'm sure of. He's never gonna leave the club, at least not in this summer. Holding signed a new deal. So yeah, Holding signed a new deal that is that I told you. This is divine. I told you we are not. This is not a transfer rumor show. So please do not ask for news around here. It's gonna be. I'm gonna give you transfer updates in the coming shows. Agent says El Neni is better for squad role, but both Xhaka and El Neni needs to go. Honestly, I would rather agree with you. I would rather keep El Neni than Xhaka. Are you smoking? I need both of them out. Honestly, Xhaka, El Neni, both of them need to leave. That's the truth. Jeffrey says bring back Guendouzi to sit on the bench. That is fair enough. Agent says central midfielder and right back equally as important for me. Then Ali says we need to do business this season and not leave everything to the deadline day like last season. Geoffrey says on the right back, bring in Aarons and bring back Niles for both sides, left and right back. The Liverpool Hub says next season lineup: Leno, Tierney, Gabriel, Saliba, Aarons, Partey, Kamavinga, Buendia, Saka, Pepe, Edward. Manager Maurizio Sarri. I disagree with the manager. I just said that guy. Kia Allen says bring in Jack Grealish. Ali says, do you think it's possible to get both Bissouma and Kamavinga if we were Manchester City or Chelsea? But according to the ambitions of this football club, I don't think it's possible. My team for next season, according to Gogo, he says should be Leno, Ryan, Okonkwo, Max Aarons, Chambers, Tierney, Doig actually, Saliba, Mavropanos, Mari, Gabriel, Partey, Kamavinga, Aziz, Xhaka, Buendia, Emile Smith-Rowe, Pepe, Saka, Martinelli, and Aubameyang, plus Daka and Balagan. Thank you so much. We need a creative midfielder. This is according to Alan, and I think you're absolutely right. It's been a problem. It's been a big problem for us in this season. Katumba Joffrey says first signing should be Aarons, Buendia, central midfielder, then backup left back, and then also Edward. Joffrey says we should do a midfielder who can also create. I think Buendia is good at that. Agent Goss says Goncalves scores and creates, but he played a bit more as a forward. Robert says we need Odegaard to stay. Agent Goss says Matheus Pereira is someone I would want can play as a winger 10. Matheus Pereira. We've talked about. I've talked about Pereira before. I don't know if Arsenal will do that deal. I don't know, but he would be a good signing. Bro, Odegaard is the controller. Thank you so much. H Music says Cossy's. For me, I would go for Emmy. There is Martin. Martin slows down the game, and it goes and goals can be hard to come by. I think we need to give Martin Odegaard some more time. Honestly, we need to. We need to. Gogo says, looking at the league table from December, being second in the last 24 games is positive to take next season. I think Arteta is learning fast. I was Arteta out, but since he's saying I back him. This is Gogo. I don't back him. I don't back him as a manager. I don't back him, honestly. I don't want to even lie. I don't back him. But one thing I can say about Mikel is he needs the summer. Let's give him this summer. If things don't turn out well in the first 10 games, you sack him. So right now we can't do anything. All we can do is wait and see what happens. You've been a very good, great audience. I'll be back in at around 2 p.m. with an upload. We shall talk about all the transfer news that are happening, and I'll be back live at 5.